Nearly all my friends and family have conventional jobs, but I took a very different path and started my own company called Tano. Tano is a technology company that masquerades as a marketing services company, and today we're focused on influencer marketing. And so the AI agents that we've built behind the scenes do everything from the sourcing of influencers to vetting, outreach, emailing back and forth, and ultimately getting them to post content after we've negotiated and contracted with them. In September 2024, this guy called Will reached out to me on Instagram and wanted to talk about startups. So we met up and we talked about starting a company in the content creator space. And over the next few months, we played around with a few different ideas. And ultimately in February of 2025, we went full time and started Tano. And since then, we've raised a couple of rounds and also grown the team. Over the past year of building Tano, there are many things that I've learned, but there's three main things that really stand out. So one is you ultimately have to make decisions on very limited information. Two is the company doesn't move unless you do. And three is you're no longer just an individual contributor like you would if you were a software engineer at another startup. On that first point, you basically have to make these decisions without all the information available, because running a startup means you're consistently against the clock and you have finite resources, you have finite time. And if you are in a position where you have to know all the facts to make a decision, you're likely just going to run out of time and resources. And so being able to be comfortable and take the risk on making these decisions without the full picture is super important. And that's one of the skills that I think is critical to being a good founder. The second point may sound pretty obvious, but the company does not move unless you move. And by that, I mean, you have to put in way more effort than the rest of the team, more often than not, because again, you're the one who's setting the pace for the company. The third point is more specific if you're coming from like a software engineering background, transitioning into a technical founder, because most of you who I'm assuming are software engineers would have just been responsible for your own part of the product. As a technical founder, there's a lot more things that you have to consider, which is, yes, sure, you have to build out the product and be responsible for that, but you also have to be responsible for what the other engineers are working on, and overall, whether or not everyone in the engineering team is building towards what the customers need. And ultimately, if everything that you're building is actually going to bring revenue through the door. If you're sitting at home thinking that you want to build your own AI company or you want to join an early stage AI company, there are three main things that I have to, almost stress about every day, to be honest. And they are one, which is making sure I stay on top of the state of the art in AI technology. Two is truly understand our product's unit economics. And, if we do scale, like how does that impact us from a cost perspective? And three is making sure that we hire well, because ultimately hiring the wrong people can kill your company. There are many things that I've done in my life that I think, looking back, contributed to helping me get to where I am today and being a founder of this AI company. Whilst I was at school, university, and even my early career, I used to always try and build things on the side and have these sort of side hustles and side projects just to experiment and try and learn more about some of the new technologies that were out there. The other thing that I did that probably made no sense at the time was actually start creating content on YouTube and TikTok. This was whilst I was at university studying aerospace engineering, and I thought maybe this is a way that I can start something, but I didn't know what. But little did I know, actually the content I put out ended up being shown to my now co-founder. And that was the whole reason why my co-founder Will decided to reach out, and the rest is history from there of how Tano began. So I guess to summarize on this bit is that ultimately I think there are many things that I did that didn't actually make sense at the time. However, now connecting the dots, I think the fact that I tried different things and played around with new technologies pretty much led to me becoming a technical founder and building Tano. So here are a few of the things that I've learned over this past year of building Tano and ultimately being a founder of an AI startup. And one of the main ones is that, if you're building at the forefront of technology and building a company that actually has never existed before, you have to solve problems that no one else has solved. These massive companies that have become super, super successful have only done so because they've solved problems that no one else ever has. So if we are to make it as like a massive company as Tano, then that's just what we're going to have to do forever. The other aspect that has become apparent to me as being a founder for the past year is that being a generalist is probably the greatest strength, because as I mentioned before, you're solving lots and lots of hard problems in multiple different areas of the company. And so being able to jump from one to the next in very different areas is probably one of the most important things to have, because ultimately as a founder, the hardest problems come back to you. And so if you have the ability to almost go into a new domain, master it, and then overcome the issues, that's how the company moves forward. You may be thinking that building a company and building a brand new startup at the cutting edge of AI is super challenging. And you are definitely right in thinking so. But when you actually start to do it yourself, you realize it's probably 10 times harder than you initially thought it was going to be. But ultimately, if you do want to reap the best rewards from working in such an exciting place and right at the forefront of technology, I think that's the trade-off you have to make. It's going to be hard, but also equally super, super exciting.